Do you remember this X1? I've tested it a few months ago and was rather pleasantly surprised. I drove it on roads and gravel, and although owners will usually mostly drive SUVs like this in cities, a test like this wasn't the best to show what the xDrive can do. For that, we need a different environment and season. Like winter, for example, and BMW's xDrive event. Last time we drove the BMW X5 with the BMW driving experience instructor, which was great fun. But today we're on a different, setting. We're at the BMW xDrive experience and we're driving the BMW X1. That's a lot of BMWs. We're looking at how the car actually drives on snowy and icy terrain if we have all the traction control systems on and when we're turning them off. Let's look at the car first, both outside and inside. We're driving the 1.8D version, which you'd think 1.8 liter diesel. No, it's actually a 2-liter diesel. You see, this car underestimates itself. But as we learned with the BMW X5 and the 2-liter diesel engine, this little engine is not bad at all. The X1 is the smallest car in the X family, but when you look at it for a while and compare it to other cars, it's actually quite big. I like its shapes. Compared to the previous generation, I feel like the X1 is more mature and a little aggressive now. The interior welcomed me with comfortable and beautifully heated seats. I appreciated that every part of the seat I was in contact with was nicely heated in the winter time. There's also the high-quality buttons on the center console and steering wheel. But now it's time to test this xDrive system. First, I drove a few 8s with all of the electronics turned on, just like most of the drivers will be driving most of the time. Sensors, computers, and magic prevented me from running off the snowy, icy track in the corners, even though I had my foot hard down on the throttle pretty much all the time. The system, in concert with xDrive, will allow you to stay on the road, even if you'll have too much bravado, like I did. But now it was time for a little bit of fun. I turned off dynamic traction control completely, which meant the car let me spin the wheels most of the time. It also didn't intervene when I began losing control over my direction. Definitely fun, but only on a closed circuit track like this, where a mistake means I simply have to reverse and get back between the lines. If I were to do it on the road, a single mistake could land me in a ditch. I was able to fully experience the difference the system makes when you're driving with them on and off. I'd definitely recommend leaving them on, as the BMW X1 did a very good job of keeping me from having to call a tow truck and the insurance company. But enough fooling about. The xDrive is great, the traction control works as intended. What about living with a car every day, when you're not driving like a hooligan? Like the other BMWs I've tested, the X1 is rather nice. Lots of optional extras are available, which will make ownership and driving a nicer experience, like the electric trunk opening and closing, keyless locking and unlocking, heated steering wheel, and the panoramic roof. The last time I sat in the BMW X1, it had the 25D engine, which was also the 2-liter diesel, but it was more powerful than this one, which is, as we said, the 18D, which is also a 2-liter diesel, but it's the base engine. And you might say that, or you might think that I'm going to say that this is a bit of a boring engine, an engine for the slower drivers, the more careful drivers. Well, perhaps, but when you think about it, when we drove the BMW X5 with the driving instructor, and it only had the 2-liter diesel engine, of course a more powerful one, but it was quite enough. We never really use all of the engine when driving on snow and ice and so on, the average driver anyway. So an engine like this is great, especially if you look at the competitors, some of the competitors. Engines with a big turbo and more horsepower, yes, but there's also a big turbo lag, which I personally hate. So this engine, it's actually really lovely. Driving while in the city or on a highway, it's great. So I think the point here is, even if you buy a base engine like this, you'll be enjoying your BMW X1. If the 2-liter engine is too much, you can always go for the 1.5-liter 3-cylinder diesel. And because I'm a kid, I'd go for the 25D with 170 kilowatts. The base model can be yours for 32,000 euros. If you'd rather have the engine I've just mentioned, xDrive, and lots of optional extras, you'll be paying over 60,000 euros.